The wise men had been studying charts. They had probably traveled, they traveled from the east, from Persia, from modern Iran. Now that journey was about 800, 900 miles. It's a long journey. Well, if you take a journey of 800 to 900 miles today, you go with an intent, don't you? I mean, that's a big journey. For us driving down to Wales, that's a big journey for us. It's 200 miles. I once drove from London to Wales, and after a couple of hours, I was still in Windsor. It was, it was in the days before the TomTom machines and the satellite navigation. And I was one of those young men who decided not to use a map. I just know the way there. And then in the end, I ended up stopping the car and taking the boot open where the map was, and then getting the map out and whacking the map against the boot of the car as if the map was at fault for not being before my eyes. The foolishness of youth. Does anyone remember the comedy series Fawlty Towers, where the man gets the tree and decides to whack the car because the car's not started? It was an episode like that. Foolishness. But we're talking about wise men here, not foolish men. And the wise men decided to take that journey because they took, clearly, the Bible seriously. They'd been studying the Bible. And they'd made that journey, and we're reading about them this morning, all these years later, because they were truly wise. And what we can glean from these very wise men is their behavior and the attitude of their heart, which is very dramatic in the text that we've read. Because these men who had traveled this great distance, who were clearly very learned men, who were clearly very wealthy men, who were rich, learned individuals, decided to lay all their emotion down and worship this infant. What a remarkable picture. These wise, wealthy people, we think there was three because of the three gifts that were given, but of course it might be that there were 100 or so individuals who were helping the wise men on their journey. And they worship Christ. And today, what I've noticed is that when Christians live without real heartfelt worship, they can become hard. They can become harsh. They can become religious. And there's a great difference between religious Christianity and real Christianity. Real Christianity involves the heart, the worship, the abandonment of worship. They didn't care about looking good, about being respectful, about, appearing to be something. The only thing they cared about was offering worship to this infant. And so I want to encourage all of us to make sure that we're copying what the wise men did, and that we, like them, are wise, and that we, like them, abandon ourselves to worship Jesus Christ. I believe, sadly, that whilst a lot of the time people can talk about Jesus in nice words, a lot of the time people can articulate the scene in a nice way. All of that is removed from real abandonment and worship to Jesus Christ. Because abandonment and worship to Jesus Christ means that I focus myself on him. I don't know necessarily just about the facts of what happened, but I'm going a step further than the facts. I'm now engaging with the individual who wasn't just born in that stable, wasn't just an infant who was met by the wise men, but who went to the cross and who died on the cross for my sake. And so if the wise men went to worship him when he was just an infant in the stable, when he hadn't died yet on the cross, when he hadn't poured out his blood for us, when he hadn't given his life for us, how much more should we today then worship this wonderful Savior who goes to the cross